Well, this is what we ended up with. Not really sure how we got here. When I started this, I was just going to move a couple boxes around, preview Gsap with React, give a couple of pointers, a couple of tips, show how easy it really is. We ended up with this, which is pretty cool. We ended up sticking a navbar onto the overlay, and we got the other moving parts, the other animations. We did all this. I think I'm going to guess maybe 50 lines of code. I haven't looked through it. A little more than that, but not too much more. Anyway, through the power of video, let's go back and I'll show you exactly how we got to this point. Hey guys, this is Matt. When I recorded this, I forgot to, or when I rendered, I'm not really sure how it worked, but I got the volume all messed up. So I'm just going to have to give play-by-play, which is a little weird. If you didn't go through the environment, I'm using Gatsby. And obviously this is going to be on GreenSock. Here, you just want to take the npm install, head back over down the bottom, just install your Gsap. And then also I planned on using style components. So just coming over to Gatsby and the plugins. If you're using Next or whatever, you can get style components the way that you would do it, or create React app. Here you can just copy this, paste it. That'll get style components installed. That'll help us I think we're doing one component. Well, this is over, so I know we did one component, or two components, but that way we can style it locally and not have to worry about a CSS file. It's a little weird. Play by play. Here, I'm just gonna. You got to put Gatsby. You got to put the plugin inside the plugin array, inside the config. You can put it anywhere between where it says plugins in the opening to the array to the bottom. In case you don't know, to create a file in VS Studio Code, because some people are new, you got a file and a folder button up there. Here we just want to make a file. Name it Playground. I catch myself and fix it after, so you can save yourself a second. We're just going to open that. This is just an arrow function component in React. If you're using the extension, it's just RAFCE, and that will save you a little bit of typing. Here we're going to import the style components so that we can use it, obviously. If you're new to React, React can only return one parent element. And when using style components, you're going to make a variable here, or a constant, and you're going to name it wrap, which is and you're making it exactly what it sounds like, a style div. And this allows us to style locally, just using your normal, typical CSS rules, styling rules. So we have an outside div. We're going to just place a div on the inside of it. I think I named it a container and I think box, container and box. Pardon me, guys. In here, this quarantine is driving me bananas. Yeah, I'm typing slow as hell here. I didn't realize how slow I was typing because I'm just talking nonsense the whole time. Anyway, we're gonna that outside div. We're gonna make it obviously 100 width on 100 viewport width on the width, 100 on the height, just so it fills up the whole page. And then we're just gonna style a container. And I did a container and a box, and I do the container 500 pixels, and I do the box 100%. I could have just went with a box, but I had something else in mind when I started this. And you'll see, I just go off the rails. And end up taking a turn and going somewhere completely different. I just want to move a couple boxes around, just to show the different things for Gsap. But we end up getting into ease and moving stuff on X and Y, stuff like that. Anyway, again, here the box is just going to be 100% width, height. End up moving stuff, putting a navbar on that's nice. Putting a navbar on an overlay. I end up dropping an overlay over the top because I just started, we start moving a box around, I start saying, you know what, you could throw a header over here, you can have that meet it if this were your logo, etc. Here you can drop an overlay over the top of it, have it reveal it. Then I said, well, the overlay doesn't have to go to 0 and go to 100. Now you could maybe put a navbar behind it or on top of it. You'll see as we go along. Anyway, here I'm catching my platypus or whatever the heck I was writing here. You guys caught it earlier. I'm sure you did. Before I even said anything, probably said, what the hell is he writing? Man, that's why I love you guys. Here we're just going to import that box and then display it on our index page. And obviously, if you're using Create React App, probably throw this all right in your app. And if you've never used Gatsby and then we're just going to start up the dev server, it's Gatsby develop, and that's going to open at 8,000, localhost 8,000. If you've never used Gatsby before and you come from using Create React app, Gatsby has the routing all in there. So if you Nexus will look familiar, obviously, you can see the pages. That's how Gatsby operates. It has the routing in there. You don't have to bring in a router and switch and all that stuff like that. It does the routing right out of the box. It's a full framework, unlike just a typical React or even Create React app for that matter. Here, just going to display. I'm just moving the box to obviously display it. Flex, move it to the middle, and then I take it off the top a little bit. I could have just flexed the whole damn thing, put it in the middle from the beginning, justified it, but whatever. And then once we get that, then we'll start working on that Gsap. And it's just moving it down from the top. I figured about 10%. It worked. Could have made the box a little smaller too, because I filmed this on a 1400 pixels. Close that up, cleaning it up here. We're gonna use a hook. We could have used useRef. I went with use effect. I think it's a lot easier, especially it's so small here. Instead of going to put refs on it on all, or instead of class names and using the identifier, instead of putting a ref on everything that we're going to move, I just figured it's a lot easier just use the use effect. If you're unfamiliar with React, and I'm just switching a function around, it's just easier for me to eyeball it and use it. And then here I'm just moving to cleaning this up a little bit. All right, so we're also going to import the use effect from React. We're also going to import Gsap from Gsap, which we just installed earlier. We'll put use effect down. And obviously we're going to have that's going to return a Gsap timeline. But here, don't forget to put your empty array. A lot of times, I do it all the time. I forget to put the empty array, and then I go, why the heck isn't it working? Obviously, I go right to it because I do it constantly. But just remember to put that empty array at the bottom. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything. And here, I'm just making a variable TL, obviously for timeline. It's a Gsap timeline. So now we brought in Gsap. We put it to the variable TL. We'll make our first timeline. It's going to be timeline from, because we're going to have it start here and move to where we coded it to be, where we put our CSS, where it's going to ultimately end. And I figured the y-axis, it's what I do like about Gsap compared to doing CSS transforms and transitions and things. It doesn't have all that translate this and translate that. Oh, and here when you're setting it up, you're doing you're going to use from or to. You're going to name the element. So here we use the class name box. How long we're going to move it. And here we obviously, I'm just going through that. We have it centered. You're going to put the duration. So you're going to put the element, the duration, and what you want it to do. Here we're going to have it start. So it's moving from 100 on a Y, which is over 100, over to where we put it. That failed because obviously every time I have it on autosave, so every time you're doing something in Gatsby, it's going to try to render it up to your dev server and put it on the screen. There, I forgot you always have to have that comma. I do that constantly. All right, so there it is. So it's moving. So again, it's coming from 100 down and going up to where we actually positioned it. And that's a linear ease. And again, I'm just talking shit here about how much easier it is and doing CSS transitions. And I think it's a heck of a lot more readable Gsap. Framer's motion is fantastic too. Here, this is just an ease, so it's not linear. I'll go over, I'll show you in Gsap right here real quick in the docs. You got here you got a bunch of different things, but as far as ease, which is what we just did right there, it gives a great visualizer. It shows you all the different ones. You know, here I'm just showing a bounce and I'm following it like a dog because that's what I do. Power 4, that's the one we use. I kind of like that. It blows out of the box and it kind of slows down at the end. Expo, which we end up using for the overlay because it goes up nice and smooth all the way. Elastic, bounce, if you like those, because you can play with that. If you guys are familiar with React Spring and your physics-based animations, that you get to spot on with that elastic and that bounce. I'll do a couple more videos where these right here. I'm just really just for beginners, just kind of show you how easy it is. But anyway, these are the docs. You can go in there and read it. There's all kinds of stuff in here, and I think they have great documentation. Gsap. A lot of times you'll go to a library, an animations library or something. Even as far as I'm concerned, well, Animate CS is pretty good. Well, anyway, showing a difference in ease. Then we'll get on with it. But even Animate CSS, a lot of times, in so many smaller React libraries for animation, stuff like that, whether it's, I think React Slick and all that stuff, I think the documentation is horrible. I think Gsap has really good documentation, and once you get the hang of it, it's really, really simple, especially timeline. There's a whole lot of other stuff here, guys. This is just timeline. All right, so here we got that moving, and now I'm just saying, you know, how simple that is to make a box move, which it really is. And then I said, well, you can throw in a header and have that meet it. A couple other things. So say you wanted, as the page loads, you have maybe a big image come up. Your header comes in and meets it. You know, you can time it different ways, coming from different directions and all that stuff. It's really up to you, and it's really only like 2 more lines of code to get that going. Here I'm just putting down an H1, naming the title. Put a P note for a particular reason. It could have been a H1, a H2, whatever. I just chose to put down a P tag, and I'm just going to name mine Whip Stitch Web Work, and then I put Hartford, Connecticut. Obviously, now later you're going to see, because we're just kind of fudging this along here, I relatively position these things, so yours might be a little different than mine, because I try to get the box to land right after the H on Whip Stitch and Web Work, and put the Hartford on the end of it. So if mine's 46 and yours is a little shorter, then you'll see in a minute. You might use a couple of different numbers. You'll see I got to go back twice just to make sure that I get it kind of where I want it, because it would bother me if it wasn't. Here we're just titling, just giving you a title, a color, font size, put whatever you want. Again, I'm just pulling this stuff out of my ass right now, so really doesn't matter. And same with the second. You don't even need a second title. I was just putting 2 because, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just riffing here. So if you're just learning to move a title, you can do it with 1. You don't need the second title part. I'm just trying to make it. And here, just changing that black background from white to gray. So all you really have here is a div that takes up the whole page, and stuck a box in the middle of it. And we got a couple headers that right now are sitting inside the box, and I'm just going to move them over so they have an ending position that's not dead center in the middle of the box. I guess you could have just left them there and done the same thing, but I just figured, what the heck, I'll just flex the box and then just use top and left to move them over. Just got one, just be a little asymmetrical on a box, just so it looks a little better than just landing smack dab in the center of the box. And here you'll hopefully a lot of you guys will notice what I'm missing right here right off the bat, and why this doesn't work. I figure about 20% down, so it's not on the top of the box, but not in the middle. Little on the upper half of it. Left, figure about halfway out of the box when it's done. So you'll see what I'm talking about. Obviously, you guys can probably visualize exactly what this is supposed to be doing. Figure out smaller type and right in the middle of the box, because obviously I never put position. Yeah, this quarantine, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Absolutely no business whatsoever. Oh, it's horrible. Here I just made them relative just to make sure it works. Yeah, so I just want them to kind of slide in and land, off to the edge of the box. Obviously, I'm going to move it over a little bit more just to kind of make so it looks a little bit better anyway. Clean it up a little bit. Now, obviously, you probably wouldn't want to do this. I would probably use a grid if I were doing this in any kind of production thing. But I'm just trying to set something up that kind of looks halfway decent when we make it move, just so you can get an idea of how powerful. Again, this is just positioning this crap. But the actual Gsap animations are so simple to make that slide in and look decent. Don't mind me, I'm sitting here vaping and having a bourbon. 77, look at this, it nails it. Pretty close. Not bad. Alright, so here, obviously we got the box. Figure we'll let it take the opacity out of it. So not only does it slide up, it kind of fades in and up. Here we're just going to chain these together. And just a little bit of warning, when you're doing this, the box, they're going to go in order. So the box is obviously going to animate first for that 1.5 seconds, and then the title, and then the subtitle, I guess you'd call it. Probably should have named it subtitle. Because where it just says .from instead of a new timeline, because you can get multiple times. There's a million different ways to do this, but I was just going to chain these all together, and then I'll just use delay. But you don't want to do that if you have a lot of animations. There is, after you put your vars in, there is something they have called position, where you can really time all these together. So even if you change the most parent timeline, everything else will fall underneath without going through and delaying every single thing. But here it's so small, we're only going to end up moving, I think, four different parts, so it's just as easy. I gave it the delay to 1.5 to match the 1.5 up top, so that they start at the same time. That's all that is right there. And it's just the opacity. In here, I'm using X instead of Y, so it comes in from the side. And here, I just didn't like the way Hartford's moving at the same time as the box, so I think I moved that. Oh, actually, I don't even have it on there yet. Yeah, here, I'm just going to give the Hartford the subtitle. Just going to move that, not as far because it's smaller. And here, I keep it on the X and do ease on it. I don't have ease on the title, and I'm just noticing that now. Probably go back and fix that later. So if you want to put it on there, you could. I don't think it really matters. It ends up looking pretty good. So that's it. I mean, you got the opacity, you got all that, and that's sliding in. I mean, now you can imagine how powerful that is and how simple it is. And obviously you can make these slide in further. You can make the movements faster. Ease it, speed it up, make it take longer, slow it down, fast, slow. But how powerful that is for just a couple lines of code. And Gsap is super, super fast. They have a speed comparison on their website that you can check out. Oh, here what I'm doing is I don't have again, we're using style components, so I don't have a CSS folder to go in and hide the overflow, visibility, stuff you would do, box sizing, padding, a margin. I actually forget to do box sizing here, so I'm just doing it right on the body using Gsap. So the body tag is in 0 seconds. It's starting visible. I'm going to hide the overflow. Instead of going in, all I'm doing is, you could just go throw this into CSS. I'm just throwing it right into Gsap since I was on this page. Here, margin 0, typical, padding 0. And actually, I forget box sizing, but it didn't have an effect anywhere, so it doesn't really matter. And that's all that is, just to get rid of that, the HTML padding and stuff like that. That white, it was just bothering me. So here I was talking about how powerful this could be, and I said, you know what? Hang on a second. I got it. We're in Gatsby. I code in this all day long. I got a here I'm going to we're going to do the overlay right now. I was talking about, well, maybe you could throw an overlay that reveals this, so maybe this is behind an overlay. So here we're just going to make a quick component. It's just one div, just an overlay. We're just going to make a div. I think I call it overlay. Oh no, I call it cover. So class name, just a div class name cover, and that's just going to be, I think I did it 100%, and because I'm typing slow, so I don't know what the hell I'm taking it, because I'm talking my ass off while I'm doing this. Again, got to import your styles from style components. Then you got to go down, make your const. My conventions, I just call it, normally I call it overlay wrapper, and the other one I would call it playground wrapper, but throughout this I just put wrap. And guys, if you're wondering how I can keep naming something over and over, like wrap, and it's holding different styles, these are local, so don't forget that. So you can use the same thing over and over. My convention is to normally name my parent container during a style div, whatever the name of the component is, plus wrapper. So I would call that overlay wrapper. Here we're just making it 100. We want it to cover the page, right? So 100 view width, 100 view height, and that's for the outside wrapper, and that's just divot. I probably don't even need the damn thing, but anyway, again, I wasn't sure where I was going, so I was just, and then cover, same thing, 100% of that wrapper. So it's gonna cover the full page is all it's doing. And it's absolute because we want it on, we're gonna put it up top, we're gonna keep it, I think a z-index, I believe I used to do that. Yeah, z-index, whatever, I think I put 2. So now you just have and I give it a background of black. So now you have, just a black overlay, and then we're going to animate that up and out of there, and then have that animation come in behind it. So now you got 2 layers of animations, and I think it's all done with 12 lines of code. And again, you can add all the, everything you want to move in there. You don't have to just deal with the YX and opacity. There's a gazillion things on Gsap, and this is just through timeline. Here I'm doing this on a different timeline, obviously, because you could chain them all together. And in my next video, I'll go in and I'll use something called position, just to show you how you can get the most detailed, complex animations all to work together really, really easy. Here I'm just using 1.5 seconds, so I hope you guys notice I'm doing CSS there. It's supposed to be a comma, and that's why I love you guys. I'm sure you guys caught that. Here I'm just gonna, obviously we're gonna make the height go, okay, and this one here, it's 2, so we're gonna start where the other ones are from, and then we move to where we positioned it in our CSS or in our style component. Here we're gonna go 2, so it's gonna start where we positioned it in CSS, and it's going to go to 0, so it's going to disappear, and we're going to use that. And it's not working here, and I forget why. What the hell had I done? Oh yeah, you got to import the component. That always helps, guys. That always helps. If you're going to have something display on screen, you might want to import it. There you go. Import it and use it. Right? That's the rule of thumb. Don't act like you've never done it. Alright, so now this should work. And there's the overlay, and it's not going anywhere. Oh, just because I got to reset it. There it goes up, but we don't see anything. We see a white screen. And why is that? We got 100, we got 100. There we go. It's going to want to do its natural flow and go underneath it, even though we put that at a Z, at an index of Z. So you got to position absolute top 0 just to make sure it goes up. All right, and this is 1.5, and that's 1.5. So this one's firing first, and then there's a total delay, and then that one starts, and then these all go together. So here we're just going to delay this. We don't want it to wait till the end. I want it to wait for about halfway up, and then I want this animation to start, so it all works together. A little choreography, just so it looks a little more polished, like that. As it's swinging through, now you see this come in instead of it popping up after that's gone. Just again, I'm just riffing this while this is going, and I'm just using simple numbers, half of 1.5, just to get it about halfway up. So here, again, I'm talking about, now, again, if you had an image on there, a real logo, that was your, I don't even know, say your splash page. Now, you got a lot of pretty neat looking animation in seconds. I mean, you could, if I'm not bullshitting and talking, you can code this out in seconds. So that's what I'm doing. I'm talking shit, and then I say, hey, you know what? Hang on, I got a style hero, because that's what we develop in mostly. I mostly do small businesses in the Hartford area, and I use Gatsby a lot because I do restaurants and bars, and I just throw all their images and stuff in a contentful, and pull it all in. So here I said, well, here you don't even have to have it go all the way up. You can have it stop 100 pixels short. You can put your nav on there. Or you can have your nav, or you can have it go up and the nav behind it. I said, but here, you can put your nav bar right on this. So that animate scrolls up, it reveals your nav bar and that animation. I said, then I pull up, because I just go into my stuff. I got a couple dev features. I like to save things that I use a lot. And I know I have a styled hero in here that I use constantly. So I'm just going to grab it, and if you guys want to pause this is a great thing to have if you work in Gatsby, just to have you start saving your own stuff. But all this is you're using Gatsby's background image, and you're taking, it's going to query for an image, and you're going to stick it around, like say our wrap, and it's going to give you a 100% fluid, optimized, lazy loaded, you name it, image, just by dropping in a line of code. So this is the component, but you do need to have Gatsby background image installed. So I'm just going to go down and install that real quick, and then we're just going to use this component. So if you don't have it, and I always keep on the bottom when I save a component, what I need. So there I got the GraphQL query to get the image. Underneath it, well, you'll see it when we get over there to it. I'm just gonna go grab an image. Just go to pixels is all I did here. All I'm doing here, I'm just running over to pixels. I think I put in purple for Gatsby, or oh no, I put in purple lightning. And just grabbed an image. You can use the same one or you can grab a different one. It's really not going to matter because that component's going to make it a full background image. 100%. I mean, you can change it too. I have it hard-coded for 100%. You can change that to whatever you want, 75, 50, just by... So like I said, if you're going to plan on using Gatsby, and you're not really sure how to use Gatsby image, well, here you go. And I have everything at the bottom, the exact instructions on how to use it. So if you want to pause it, copy that. This works every time. To give you a little bonus component you can use. Anyway, so installed Gatsby. You don't have to add background image into your config like we did with style components because it is part of Gatsby. And again, here I go. I have the query that you need. I got the how to set up your data and to use your static query. You could use a React hook, use static query. So now we're just going to go over to our playground. And I'm just talking about what this is. But I'm just going to move all this right over. Uncomment it so we can just copy and paste it. There you go. There's our GraphQL query. It's a relative query, which means it's just going to come over here. You don't have to tell it exactly where that image is. I don't even have the image in yet, but it will come. It's a relative path, so it's just going to find it by the name. It's going to go through your whole... It's not the most optimized way of doing things, but it doesn't really matter here. It's going to go through your whole file system and pull that out. So it'll know exactly where that image is, and it's going to make it fluid of a max width of 4160, and it has with WebP and stuff like that just for... well, really, Google performance tests. If you add that WebP, it doesn't smack it because Gatsby performance is ridiculous. You always get 100 or 98 on Lighthouse. So here, that's just a query for the image, and now we're going to have to set up the hook to display it within our function. And it's just that line of code. So it's just 3 parts, and it will give you a solid background image every time, 100%. And again, you can change that if you want. Here we just got to, obviously we had to import GraphQL because we're using GraphQL. That comes with Gatsby, obviously from Gatsby, and our use static query, which we're going to use. Telling you that here. This stuff's just going to go through your whole file system and get that image. You don't have to source ... none of that shit. It's going to know exactly where it is using a relative path. And this works any Gatsby site. This component will work anytime, anywhere, non-stop. Here again, it's a background image, so you don't put it inside the wrap. You put it around the wrapper. It's actually, or around any div, anywhere, inside of a component, outside a component, a page, it doesn't matter. But here we're just going to wrap that whole page, that div, because technically the div is our page. So import our component, our styled hero component, and now we're going to use it. And there it is. And again, it's dynamic. You can change the class name and style it differently for different pages, what have you. So here we're just going to paste that in. We're going to, obviously you got to put the closing tag again on the outside of the wrap. I'm sure you guys get all this. And that is all set. Here we got our lightning, we got our background image. I'm just showing that is just so you can, that can be anything. You can name that whatever you want. You're just naming a query, because a lot of times you query, that's just querying one image. You can put 15 images in there, so you just want to name them so you can do data dot name. That way you're getting down into it. Here it's failing because obviously we got to delete that shit. Editor doesn't like that. Okay, that's all in there. So there you go. So all we did is we just added a hero image all around it. And again, without me bullshitting, it would take 2 seconds if you have this component. And I'm getting data null. I forgot why. What the hell did I do here? Oh yeah, you got to restart it because I slid the image in. I pulled that in after our dev server was already started, so Gatsby doesn't even know the image exists, that it's in that file. Even though we could see it clearly in the editor, Gatsby had no idea it was there. So you got to restart it. I go back, it's sitting down, And you step, no image, still that gray background. Obviously, we got to get rid of that gray background to have another background. Can't have two backgrounds. See, I'm showing you that now. It is a background image, and it covers everything. It doesn't repeat. So obviously, we got to get rid of that background because that's localized. So it's going to get that first. After the styled hero up top, it's going to go down and do the CSS, and then so there you go. Now you have that. If you didn't notice, I got rid of that in the style component. It had a top margin of 100. I got rid of that and put it to negative, so it slid up. Here, I'm just going to style that box. Give it a border with a 20. Just curve it a little bit. I'm just trying to make it look a little bit better. I figured, hell with it, I'll make like a quick little splash page that looks kind of decent. I'm grabbing a color. If you don't have Colorzilla up top, it's a great tool to have. I would highly suggest you get it. They got it for Firefox, which I'm using here, but they also have it for Chrome. It's just an extension. Here I took those colors. I think they were somewhere in the hundreds, the mid hundreds and high hundreds or whatever. So I'm just picking numbers. It doesn't matter. Anywhere between. These numbers kind of work. I changed this 0.7. It's a little too opaque. End up going back and putting a 0.4 if you want to save yourself a flash over. Yeah, I couldn't see the lightning behind it, so I figured I'd go back. 0.4. Really doesn't matter. I'm just doing it because I started it. Now that's coming in. Kind of liking it. And I just said, okay, well, we throw a nav bar on top here. It only takes a second too here. And I'm just going to, it's not a real nav bar. I mean, but obviously it works. But it's just all it is a div with some links in it. I mean, again, it works. I don't want to. Why I said it's not a real nav bar. It would work. I mean, you can go put a page 2. Make a. I only make the index page, which is your home page, guys. If you're not familiar with Gatsby, your next index is your home page. So you can go to pages and create. I don't know about services contact. You can make those 3 pages. Do RAFC. Make your component and just write hello in them. And then here where you see the slash and the href, you leave the home page just a slash, and for about you would put a slash about slash service slash contacts, and then when you click on these links they will work. I didn't go through with all that. I just kind of throw these links on here and that's it, done. I actually I just went out to make things look I don't know, just to look better. I just figured, because I have a hard time visualizing things when I'm just looking, when I see people or I'm trying to learn something and I watch a tutorial or something and it's just a box and some shit. I have a hard time, well, what would that look like if I had an image on there and something like that? So I just want to show you. That's why I just put this shit here. But here I'm not, oh yeah, I know what I do. After I do this, I also go grab a React icon and pop that thing in the middle of it just to give it a little something more. Just show how simple it is just to clean that up. But anyway, the animations, I hope you guys understand how powerful it is and how simple it is. Here I'm just grabbing a color for the links, which I'm not even realizing are already purple. And here, this is just style, and then I'm just going to use I'm going to install React icons. I'm going to go grab a React icon. If you've never used them, you size them right in line. I mean, here in this whole thing, I probably could have done inline styles with all of this, so I figured just not to clutter it up. There's not much styles here. All right, well, no, that purple changed a little bit. Went down a little lighter purple. I'll take it. Here, and I'm noticing while I'm doing this too, instead of those the headers coming straight in from the side, I have them inside the same div, so they're kind of riding up with the purple square box. You could take those out of there just so they come in on their own, so they come just stay on the x-axis instead of riding at x and y. Here I'm just obviously margin top that just to make sure. Got to have the links inside of it. Obviously, it didn't work. I put top 90, obviously, because it's 100. Don't forget the overlay is 100, and you want the links on the bottom of it. So you want 90%, at least 90% margin up top. So that's why I did a relative position on the nav, 90, 0, and then it still wasn't laying there. I don't know why. But again, at this time, I'm just fudging it to make it look good. So I wouldn't go to production with any of this code, but just to show you. Anyway, so the margin top, just to slide those in there. And then I go back and take a look at it. Just put in install React, npm install React icons. And here we're just going to pull in, while that was doing that, pull in file React, which is just the React logo icon. And obviously that's going to be from React Icons. And if you go to React Icons, they got all different ones, but this is from F8. It's for Font Awesome. And in here, we're just going to place it in here. I'm going to put it inside of a div. So I wasn't sure if I had to move it. And then here, you just put it in, and you can size it right inside there instead of giving it a class name and using all that. It's just real pain. I figured a box is 500, so put 350. Take about 3/4 of the box. That's that. So it's centered, it's down. I just want to bring it up a little bit. So again, it's inside that position div. So I'm just going to put a POS, bring it up. I think I move it up 100 pixels or something along those lines. Just move it up into the box. And obviously I did 100 instead of negative 100. All right, yeah, that works for me. Well, guys, I'm going to do a couple more. I'm just going to expand on this. So hopefully you learned something out of it and you realize how easy it really is. I mean, if you look at the code for what our Gsap is and what's going on here, pretty cool, pretty powerful. All right, guys, check out my other videos, man. Have a good day. Enjoy your quarantine, man. Enjoy your quarantine.